Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness, where his faith bears. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, heavens are praising. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Morning has broken. We have sung that every single Sunday this month. First time we've done that. And I think the reason is maybe it's a great reminder for each one of us that today is a brand new day. Brand spanking new. And being human beings, we have the gift of choice to do whatever we want with today. Whatever we wish, whatever we choose. The only cost is that it will cost us a day of our life. When we're Ananda's age, we got a lot of those to look forward to, a lot. But most of us, a day of our life is pretty valuable, actually. And as we grow older, we also learn that what we do has effect on those around us. Our consciousness has effect. Our actions has effect. Our thoughts have effect. Well, morning has broken, folks, and it's up to us to set the mood and the consciousness of this family today. And so it is.
Memorial Day. For so many years, I did not know what to make of Memorial Day. A day where the news about the holiday focuses on store sales, miles driven, and prices that consumers, not citizens, but consumers, will face as they fill up on the way out of town. A day that so many Americans view as a day for taking time off for vacations and barbecues, rather than a day for taking time out to remember. Because it is supposed to be a day when we remember. Remember and honor those who have died, who served in the military, defending, we are told, our freedom. It was confusing for me because I did want to remember, even though some of those who have died in the past decade fought in a war that I protested. Protested because I did not believe that we were being told the truth of that war. It doesn't make me feel much better to know that I was not wrong to question the validity of that war. I also protested because my nephew Mike, our family's flesh and blood, was about to fight it as an infantryman, as a member of a platoon that would bear the brunt of the death, both inflicted and suffered, caused by this war. I did not want our troops, I did not want Mike to be sent into harm's way for dark political objectives. But on November 8, 2004, Mike's platoon entered Fallujah, when his Marine battalion began an assault on that city in Iraq. My calendar that week was filled with completing work tasks, making vacation plans, and dealing with the hassle of jury duty, a hassle that Mike was sworn to defend with his life. I have since taken a very different view of jury duty. As were most Americans, I was oblivious to what was happening to Mike and his battalion 11 time zones away. Mike was fighting in a town that neither of us had ever heard of nor cared about before. Most of the civilians had fled, and Mike was engaged in combat. What a word, engaged. He was engaged in what is euphemistically called clearing houses. With each house, his fire team of 4 Marines would trade off being the point. That is, be the one who would kick in the door and be the first to give and take bullets with those who might be hiding within. As I was going about my week, Mike was in the middle of death and terror, both inflicted and suffered. It's hard and uncomfortable for me to think about what they went through. Hard to think about how they were defending a way of life that we take for granted. A way of life that is also deeply damaging to the web of life. I think about what it's like for the families of these young soldiers killed, and for the returning veterans who fought in this war, to have a country and a holiday where so many are like me. Were like me, oblivious to what happened and is happening and why. To have a country and a day where so many fail to remember. Oblivious. I once actually said to Mike, "Happy Memorial Day," as if it were indeed a day to be happy about. But I feel it's important for me to face the stark reality of what Mike went through, what all our soldiers go through, because what they are called on to do, for better or for worse, is done in our name, no matter how much we protest, no matter how much we don't want that. I can only imagine the spiritual challenge Mike continues to face with what he did, what he went through, what he makes of a country whose citizens seem almost willfully ignorant of the havoc that was being done, and most especially, why he and his buddies were put into harm's way. It's so complicated. I try to reconcile all these conflicting thoughts by recalling what Mike once said in his commencement speech to his Masters of Social Work class in Berkeley. He said, "It is crucial not to blame the warrior for the war, and do not confuse policy made in Washington with the bravery of those who serve overseas." I once asked Mike about what he thought when people would say, sometimes very earnestly, "Thank you for your service." He told me that once someone had learned that he was a combat veteran, he'd rather hear, "Welcome home." It is supposed to be a day when we remember and honor those who have died who served in the military, especially those who have died in combat. Even in a war I protested, perhaps especially in a war I protested. Here are some of the names who fought next to Mike before they themselves were killed in combat. Nathan Anderson, Kirk Bosselman, Brad Faircloth, Todd Godwin, David Hoke, Gentian Marcoux, Nick Ziolkowski. What shall we then do on Memorial Day to honor these dead, to honor all those who have died? For me, we can pray. Pray that they are welcomed home, that their souls are welcomed home to the presence of the divine, that whatever hard lessons learned in their lives can be brought with them on the journey of their souls. We can certainly honor them by gently but firmly working to change the larger structures that demand war. But perhaps we can best honor them by engaging in our own spiritual challenges. For me, one of the largest of which is to somehow come to terms with wars fought in our name and for less than honorable reasons, to ponder where the divine is in all of this complexity. We can honor them by living good lives, good in the highest spiritual sense of the word, practicing love with others, and most especially ourselves, on this path of spiritual truth, on the path of peace, the path of connection with the divine. And most especially by welcoming ourselves home, back to the home that both surrounds us and is within us, back to the divine that is always there.
Thank you, David. Church is done. Let's go have potluck. David, thank you very much. I'm not going to make any further comment right now, but thank you. We had a good morning, everyone. I'm pondering. We had a very nice cabaret last night. Not enough people, but the band was great. I've known Jim for a lot of years, and it's a great band, and we could have used more bodies. But I think the 3-day weekend interrupted the normal course of action. On the 25th of June, we will have Lori B and the Jazz Pack. And they've been here a few times before. They do all the old jazz standards like Valentine and all, just great dance music, good show. So I hope you all plan on attending. Board meeting next Sunday, is that correct? True. Potluck today. Are there, yes?
Women's group this Thursday.
This Thursday, 10 o'clock in the hall. Coffee and probably other things as well. Any other, yes?
There were over 100 Russian soldiers took a knee and refused to fight the Ukrainians.
Excellent.
We didn't hear it.
Over 100 Russian soldiers took a knee and refused to fight the Ukraine soldiers. Thank you.
Patrick,
Yes.
I'd just like to thank everybody. It's Jen and had coffee. Last week I had a little bit of a head cold and wasn't feeling quite up to par. So thank you for sending the coffee.
Well, you're welcome, Bonnie. And because you weren't here, I know you had a legitimate excuse, but that's 2 demerits. So, just so you know, we keep track. Yes.
I have a question about the board meeting.
Yes.
They announced it as the board meeting's next weekend. I thought it's the second Sunday.
It was set by the board moderator. We had to cancel last month's. It's a week early because we're trying to catch up and do double time. It's a very complex situation, very complex. It takes the greatest of minds to go forward. Natalie?
I just wanted to say that the healing circle will happen here tonight at 7:15. So it's like a healing meditation, visualization, energy search.
Thank you. Any other? I apologize. I'm very preponderant right this very moment. Any other announcements? Yes.
I made a boo-boo. It's not on June 2nd. The spiritual book group is on June the 9th.
I'm very confused now, but you got a week off, ladies. Next Thursday, a week from Thursday. Gene.
Who brought the flowers? They're beautiful.
I think David and Natalie and Gloria brought those, but isn't that pretty? Okay. All right. Anything else? We're going to sing. Oh, I want to make. Michael, thank you for your beautiful prelude music this morning. It was just what I needed to hear. Thank you. This song, I Would Be True, I've been conflicted, I think is a good word to use, over my message this morning for the last couple of weeks. And I Would Be True is mostly for me this morning, just so you know, but I think we could all give some thought to being true to ourselves. Our world and our family and our friends depend on it. So let's stand and sing, I Would Be True.
those who trust me, I would be pure. For there are those who care, I would be strong. For there are those who suffer, I would be brave. For there is much to dare, I would be brave. For there is much to dare, I would be friend of all the other friends. I would be give, will and forget the gift. I would be gentle that I may bless others. I would look up and laugh and love and live. I would look up and laugh and love and live.
Now it is time to greet each other in the traditional Church of the Oaks fashion, or however you might feel comfortable. There's something here. There's no exception.
I've been to a lot of churches and this realization.
It's genuine. Very genuine. There's no hyperbole. There's no. They're really.
It's beautiful.
I just wish there were 500 of them instead. Because I think there are that many people that really care, that are just put off by bullshit.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, and that's really sad.
Yeah, it's just inside of the toes.
Michael just said something to me that, it just made me think again, affirm what a beautiful abundance. What did you just tell me, Michael?
I said this is a really beautiful congregation. I've been in a lot of churches as an attendee and as a musician and as a wanderer. And this is a very beautiful congregation, very touched.
So, your presence is truly an abundance that we share with people who aren't happen to be here all the time. Your existence, your presence in this room makes a difference within our community. What a wonderful abundance to be aware of, to give thanks for, and to continue, and to increase the level of sharing. in all facets of our life. Let's read together our affirmation of abundance, please. To realize an abundant life, one must practice giving, receiving, and gratitude. May we ponder those wise words for a moment. As we prepare ourselves for our practice, let's sing together, "How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful?"
How could anyone ever tell me I was anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell me I was less than beautiful? How could anyone ever notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to God's soul. How could anyone ever tell me I was anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell me I was less than beautiful? How could anyone fail to notice that my loving is a miracle? How deeply I'm connected to God's soul. How could anyone ever tell me we were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell us we were less than beautiful? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply we're connected to your soul.
That's one of my favorites. And again, so fitting for today's practice, which, as I was tuning in today, I saw this beautiful, almost like a web or a net of light that was connecting each of our hearts to this diamond of light in the center. So today's practice, usually, when we do a practice, it's more of an individual thing that we try in this space together, but it's for ourselves. Today's practice is really coming through as a collective practice of we consciousness, one of our favorite themes here. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to close your eyes, take those couple of deep breaths into gratitude, as we usually do, just really bringing forth to the very front of your consciousness what it is you're grateful for, not just in your life, but in this community in particular. And as you feel that gratitude fill your being, in your mind's eye, I want you to notice floating in the center of the ceiling in this space, there's a beautiful diamond of light. It has that clear, sparkly quality. There's a little gold mixed in. These colors simply represent the frequency of our collective intention when we come here. Typically, this intention is not fully conscious, but as we've all observed over and over again, once we get here, there's a magic that tends to unfold, which somehow connects the different elements of the service in this surprising way? Well, today we're just going to make this connection and this intention a little more conscious. Once you feel you've really tapped into that diamond, just take a moment to pull a thread from it down to your own heart. In this diamond, our hearts are united as one. It's not just the knowledge of oneness, but the experience of it. For in this place there truly is no separation. We are one heart. Just let this flow from the diamond come down and let it go the other direction too. As we connect ourselves to this diamond, what happens is, so I'm going to just give a little lesson in energetics here. The sort of most common pattern for us as individuals, as human beings, is to cord others energetically to get our needs met. And that can work, but it can also create issues when others are not in a position to meet our needs. And that's when we experience what you might call karma, the playing out of patterns repeatedly. However, it's possible to imagine those cords that you might be sending out to others being hooked instead directly to source. When you do that, you're no longer seeking to get what you need from others, but you're filling yourself fully with what you need from source. And then that is overflowing into your relationships. So it's a way of being in the world from your wholeness. That's what we're doing here together today. Now, this diamond of intention is one we can tap into at any time. It might not always appear to be exactly the same color. It might not always have exactly the same qualities, but this congregation is very special, in my view, as Michael already observed, in the degree to which we do share a heart's intention. So I really want to encourage you to continue to tap into this, not just through the service, but through the potluck, when you go home, when you talk to people through the week, and next week as well, and just notice that nourishment that's available for you from this intention. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. I said that I had been in conflict within myself for the last couple of weeks. And today it's Memorial Day as well. And I think to sum up what my job is, I think that I am here to inspire hope within us. If I look at the last few weeks of what's going on in this world, that's a very difficult job. I have looked and thought, and I keep coming back to this one quote. Peace happens when we retrain our minds to process life as it is rather than as we would like it to be. That is a huge quote And I think it's really important. Because right now, as I see it, the only key, the only passage to hope that we can possibly find is to connect with the peace of our source, like Natalie was just talking about. In that peace of tranquility, of all fitting together. There's a name for that, it won't come out of my mouth right now. But when everything coincides, when everything gets along well, that is the hope of our existence. That's the hope of our thinking. That's the hope of our actions, is that we can come together in harmony. That's the word I was looking for, harmony. Because it's going on inside of our bodies all the time. Every second, aware or not, it's going on. And when we can connect to that, our lives are enriched. David was talking about our Memorial Day celebrations, as many as we can remember. And for 21 years, every Memorial Day and every Veterans Day, I brought in and placed right here a three-cornered memorial flag. I stopped doing that because I don't want to stop remembering the people who have served this country. I don't want to stop remembering all of my relatives, but I don't want to remember them as casualties. Because that is hooked up with violence, that subconscious, when you say casualty, war, soldier, death, it's all about violence. And my friends, I hope you read very carefully the quotes on your order of service. Albert Einstein's, I think, is so true, so absolutely true. I'm going to say some things that may upset you. If they do, I apologize. That's not my real intent. My intent is to try to encourage you to look at things as they are, process the information and the life as it is, so that we can, in peace, determine and decide how we go from here, individually, as a community, as a society, as a species. We have evolved greatly in some ways, but not at all in others. Our country was founded for the purpose of establishing a new type of freedom, a new experiment in freedom. But it was based on the same philosophies. Maintain sovereignty by violence and force. Maintain social order by violence and force. There's been 125 mass shootings in the last 40 years, and we keep thinking Congress is going to do something about it. It's not going to happen, folks. In 40 years, there have been Democrats, Republicans, there have been, and no. And I guess I'm not okay with that, but that's how it is. That's the truth. One of my favorite quotes in the whole world, Gloria Steinem said, "The truth will absolutely set you free, but first it's going to piss you off." And that is the truth. And I don't think that there's anything that you and I can do that's going to bring about a desirable result in the consciousness of violence and force in our world today. I don't think we can write anybody a letter. I don't think we can, maybe we could run for office. I don't think they'll let us play. Because if we're for truth, then you really aren't allowed. I ran across an interesting quote about politics and our corporate media. It says politics and the corporate media is the art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, very important word, fear-mongering, to dupe average people into accepting or even demanding their own enslavement. Every time there's a mass shooting, every time there's some other country except us attacks somebody else, it's so morally wrong. When I examine my thought of truth, the only time I really hear morality brought up by the corporate media or by our politicians is when they want you to judge somebody else in a negative fashion. Peace within. I find myself sometimes being so disappointed I weep in our lack of being able to connect with divine peace. I don't think we are ever going to be able, as a society, get past the emotionalism by pointing fingers at and making sizzling news about mass shootings or about other people attacking countries. Of course, when we do it, we're the good guys, so it's a moral thing to do. I can't wait to be able to hear our corporate media talk about people living in peace, in tranquility, in harmony. But I don't think that's going to come about until we can be at peace within ourselves. And that's a lot of retraining we have to do in our heads and even our hearts. So many times we judge people and we make comments about folks, yada, 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 because we're judging them. We aren't a Christian church, but that guy Jesus, he said, judge not lest you be judged. Oh, that judgment thing goes both ways. And does that have anything to do with peace and harmony? Absolutely not. All it does is stir up the mix, make it muddier, and encourage us to do things that ourselves our family, our children and grandchildren will live to regret. I don't know how to bring about world peace. I don't know how to stop the wars and the violence and the force that the whole world seems to champion. And perhaps it never will come to pass. Perhaps. I don't know what the plan was when our species was designed and put into, given the breath of life. I don't know. I'm sure there was a purpose and a plan, and I wasn't there. My opinion wasn't requested. But I do know that each one of us can look at this evolution of humanity, the whole congregant of actions and propagandas, and look for the truth in it, and look for the truth within us as we discern all this garbage that's floating around. As we catch ourselves judging people for what? Because they think different than me? That means they're wrong? No, I'm just different. And this thing about hate, it's a permanent disease. I've got some things that I thought were I'm just going to read them to you, that I thought were pertinent to this line of thinking. Violence is a disease, a disease that corrupts all who use it, regardless of the cause. Chris Hedges wrote that. Here's an interesting one. A weapon does not decide whether or not to kill. A weapon is the manifestation of a decision that has already been made. I think that's profound. I don't necessarily agree with everything that this man has said or with his philosophy. I came across an interesting quote that I think bears considering. It may have value for you, it may not. Stokely Carmichael. He said Dr. King's policy was that nonviolence would achieve the gains for black people in the United States. His major assumption was that if you are nonviolent, if you suffer, your opponent will see your suffering and will be moved to change his heart. That's very good. He only made one fallacious assumption. In order for nonviolence to work, your opponent must have a conscience, and the United States government does not. And I think that only the citizenry can call for that to happen. There was another one, maybe it was on the front of the order of service, about, oh yes, participating in nonviolence, whatever you think is evil. That was Einstein. But all of us, I think, it's like a full-time job. As we live in this life, that everything that we can think of almost is based on the consciousness of force and violence. I heard someone say the other day, all of our sports that we saturate our young people's lives with. That's a form of violence and force and winning and losing. And our society with our children are obsessed with that. Video games, 99% of the video games that our young people and adults play all the time are based on force and violence. It's a consciousness that our society seems to have worked very hard at maintaining since our beginning. And the only way that that is ever going to change is for you and me to connect with our divine peace and then let it show. And maybe it will be attractive enough to others that in time, 100 years, 500 years, I don't know if humanity will last that long. Maybe it'll be over next week. We don't know. But if we can connect with this divine peace that we have within us, our lives will be enriched. We will be able to sleep at night knowing that the human creature just is hell-bent on killing each other. But not me, not you. I had a great conversation with Yvonne yesterday, and she says, I find that now I live in the moment all the time. Could all of us maybe consider the beauty of that statement? Living in the moment. And in this moment, I don't hate anybody. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not judging anybody. I look and see people sitting here loving and caring about each other. I stand here seeing people that really care, that work. They don't come for warm and fuzzy. They come for ideas and different practices and different thoughts that might allow them to come in contact and maintain a relationship with the divine peace inside of us on a daily basis. That's the only hope I can offer today, folks. It's within you. And I think that's truly the only hope there is for humanity, is to reconnect with the divine peace within. The love for each other, the connection with each other, being aware that every moment is a brand new day. Morning has broken just this instant, and I can start off being angry or overwhelmed or sad or emotional, or I can start off this brand new day, starting right this second, with love and appreciation and gratitude for all the wonderful things I have experienced in my life that you have experienced. I can have gratitude for everything that we bring together every week after week, year after year, in this very special place. And there's no reason this special place can't spread around the world. This divine energy, divine love, divine peace exists everywhere in this world. It's just people are hell-bent on hating each other and having control by violence and force. they're not going to control me. I'm going to sit back and laugh at them. And I will never forget the people who have served our country, served their fellow citizens in every country. We're no different than any country on the face of the earth. Our young people love their country, their home, and they're willing to die for that country, their fellow citizens. And I want to remember them as giving, loving, alive people, not as casualties of war. Someday, I hope there is no war. But in the meantime, my job is to stay hooked up with the peace within my heart and to stay connected to each of you. And so it is. I forget.
I've got peace like a river.
On your feet, folks. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I got love like a mountain. I got love like a mountain. I got love like a mountain in my soul. I've got love like a mountain. I got love like a mountain. I got love like a mountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Amen. Amen to that. Amen.
I like that song.